Hi there, this is Nabil Murad. In this training video, I would like to share with you a real work Excel situation. In this training video, we'll be applying some basic formatting, we'll be creating some basic formulas and functions, we'll copy functions, we'll apply conditional formatting, and create some basic charting. So let's get started. In the first worksheet, sales target, when I click on this worksheet, I could zoom in a little bit by selecting this range and then hit Control and the wheel of my mouse. I'll show my ribbon, Control F1 to show the ribbon. And here I would like to start by selecting cell D1, the label in cell D1, and I would like to extend it over multiple rows. So I'll change the wrapping by clicking on wrap text, and the height of this row is increasing. And then I would like to apply some accounting number format to this entire range. So I select the range, right click, format cell, and to apply accounting number format, I'll select the accounting category. I don't want any decimal places, so I'll be reducing the number of decimal places to 0. In my next step, I'll select cell D2, and I would like to calculate the difference between the actual sales for each employee and the sales target. So I'll type a very simple formula. A formula starts with an equal sign. I click on the actual sales and then subtract minus the sales target and then hit enter. And it gets the same exact formatting. I'm going to copy this formula down by hovering over the lower right corner, the autofill handle. When the mouse pointer changes to a plus sign, I'm going to click and drag. Now let's insert a row on top of row number 1. So I'll select row number 1, right click and insert. The shortcut for inserting a row is Control plus, so you could have used this shortcut as well. And I'm going to create some text in cell A1, and I'll hit enter. This text is in cell A1, but I want it to extend across all the lists. So I'll select the whole range, and on the home ribbon, I'll click on Merge and Center. I don't have a preference myself to using the Merge and Center command. There is a better option called Center Across Selection. You can watch my tutorial about the Merge and Center to know the disadvantages and the problem that arise from using it, and see how you could use the Center Across Selection. Now, instead of formatting this label in row number 1 by using the different formatting option, I prefer to apply a bunch of formatting, a package of formatting. This is called cell styles. So if I click on the down arrow for cell styles, I could select any one of these styles. Hovering over any one of them will show me a preview on how it will look like in case of I select it. So I'll be selecting heading 1 style, and I'm fine with that heading. Now I'll select cell A10, and I would like to type a label. I'll type a total, and then I'll hit enter, and then I'll type another label. I'll type highest, and then lowest, and then I hit enter, and I'll type average. These are labels in column A, and I need to create the corresponding functions in column B. The first function I'll be creating that calculates the total is a sum function, and I'll be using the simplest tool to do that, the auto sum command available on the right side of the home tab. By the way, it's also available on the left side of the formulas tab. If I click on this, Excel puts the sum function inside the cell. All what I have to do is to hit enter, and I got the total. And as we did before, I'll be copying this formula to the right by hovering over the lower right corner and click and drag. When you see these fences, that means the column is not wide enough and you need to expand the column a little bit by hovering over the border between C and D and drag. Now I would like to find out the highest amount of sales, and I'll be using a max function. So I'll type equal max, and then I hit the tab key and click and drag and select the range, close the bracket, and then hit enter. Now I can copy this formula as well to the right. And finally, I would like to calculate the lowest value. I could use the min function to find out the lowest value. Alternatively, I can click on the down arrow of AutoSum and select the min. Excel puts the min function inside the cell and it picks up the range. Of course, this range is not correct, so I'm going to redirect Excel to select the values, not the total and not the highest, and then hit enter. And I'm going to copy it to the right. My next calculation will be an average. I could type equal average and select the range. Alternatively, I can click on the down arrow for AutoSum and select average. The range is not correct because Excel is picking up the aggregate amount just above it. I just want the actual sales amount for the different employees. I hit enter and drag to the right to calculate the different sales amount. I might need to apply some formatting for the values in this range. So I'm selecting from 2 to 13. I want to make it a little bit bigger. I want to change the font type to Arial. And if needed, I can double click on the column border for column C to expand so that I can see all the values in this range. In cell A15, I'm going to type a label, bonus percent, and then I'll hit tab to move to the next cell, and I'll type the percentage for this bonus 4%. So we want to give a 4% bonus for anyone exceeding the sales target. So before doing this, I need to create a label, and I'll type a word, and I'll hit enter. What's the award? The award is to evaluate if each employee hits the target or not. If the employee hits the target, which means the actual sales are equal or above to the sales target. So in this case, I would like give this employee a 4% commission of the actual sales. Otherwise, I'll deliver a text message saying that the employee does not qualify. This is called an if function. So in the first cell, I'll type equal if, and then I hit the tab key. The if function requires 3 arguments, a logical test, which is simply a question. Is this amount coming from cell B3, is it greater than or equal than the sales target? That's my question. That's my logical test. To move to the next argument, I'll hit comma. And now Excel is asking me, what would you like to do? If this logical test returns a true, what would you like to do if the actual sales are equal or above the target? In this case, I want to give this amount in B3 multiplied by the commission amount coming from cell B15. But note, when I copy this formula down, I don't want B15 to change. I want to lock it. And the locking code in Excel is the $sign. Instead of typing a $sign, I'll hit the F4 key and let Excel do the heavy lifting for me. My last argument is value if false, which means what would you like to do if the employee does not hit the target? What would you like to do if the actual sales are below the sales target? In this case, I want to deliver a message saying does not qualify, and then I close the double quotation, close the bracket, and hit enter. Here is the amount. I would like to format it so as it looks like the same exact thing. Instead of applying the same steps, I could copy the formatting from any one of these cells. So I'll click on any one of the cells and click on the Format Painter. This will copy the source formatting from any one of the cells. Look at my mouse pointer. It looks like a brush. So if I click on the destination, the formatting will be applied. We mentioned before that whenever you see this set of number signs, that means the column is not wide enough. You need to expand the column a little bit. And then I'm going to copy my formula down by dragging, and I copied the formula down. It looks like I copied it a little bit more. I should have stopped. So I'll drag it up a little bit. So no problem. I'm dragging my formula up to stop with the last employee. Let's test how dynamic this formula is. So if I change the amount from 5% and I type from 4%, I type 5%, and then I hit enter. All my calculations update, and this is the concept of creating a calculation in Excel. The final thing, I would like to represent these numeric values, the actual sales. I would like to represent them graphically, and the chart that shows the relationship of each section in comparison to the total would be a pie chart. So I'm selecting the labels and I'm selecting the actual sales. And to create a pie chart, I'll go to the Insert command and click on the down arrow for the pie chart. We have different options. I'll be selecting the 3D pie chart. When I create a chart, it covers the worksheet, because a chart is a floating object on top of the grid, I would prefer to have this chart on a separate sheet, so I'll move it to a new worksheet by clicking on Move Sheet. I can name the worksheet, let's say Sales Chart, and then I'll hit OK, and the chart will move to a new worksheet that focuses entirely on the chart. Let's make some changes. Let's say I want to remove this color key, which is the legend. By clicking on the plus sign on the upper right corner, this is the chart element, and selecting legend, I'll take the check away from legend, and the legend is gone. Now I need to add some information on top of my pie. This is called data labels. And when you hover over data labels, you can select the default by checking this box, but I'm going to customize the default a little bit by clicking on the right pointing triangle. When I click on that, I'll be selecting, I could select different positions from here, but I'll select more options. Why? Because the more options will open the Format Data Label pane on the right hand side. I want the name of the employee, that's the category name. I don't want the value, I want the percentage, and I'm done. When I close the Format Data Label, I can see all the information being added on my pie. It's not big enough, so you can go to the Home tab and of course bump it up, let's say to 12 or 14, whatever you like, and then make it bold. Now my labels look nice, and on each section of the pie I could see the data label. If you click outside the chart and then click again on the chart, look at the different sections. All of them have selection handles. This section, the gray section, is 24%. It looks like it's the highest section. I want to drag that section outside. I want to create an explosion. And to do this, I have to select this section and deselect the other section by clicking one more time on the gray section. The selection handles have disappeared from the other section. Now I can create this explosion simply by dragging it outside, and I created an explosion. Alternatively, you can right click and select Format Data Series. If you click outside and then click here and then right click and select Format Data Series, you have a handle for creating an explosion in case you want. I'm not going to do that. I did it by dragging. In the same workbook, I have another worksheet named Sales Revenue. And in the Sales Revenue worksheet, I would like to format the titles as bold. So I'll select cell A1 and B1, and I'll be selecting C1 as well because I intend to add some labels in cell C1 later on. I want to format these numbers as currency, so I select the numbers, right click and select Format Cell. The shortcut for the Format Cell is Control 1, and from the Format Cell dialog box I'll select currency. I don't want any decimal places, so I'll reduce it to 0 and then hit OK, and I would have formatted this range as a monetary value as currency. We have sales revenues. I would like to see who are those employees who have the highest sales amount. So I would like to apply a condition that shows the top 3 values in this range. This is called the conditional formatting. When you hover over conditional formatting and then click on the down arrow, you will see 5 predefined conditional formatting rules. And because I want to show the top 3 amounts, so I'll hover over top and bottom values and select top 10 items. When you select top 10 items, this dialog box opens and we need to refine our search. So I'm going to reduce that number to 3. I don't want the top 10, I just want the top 3 amounts. And we have different options for formatting. These are predefined options. If you want the green, you select this one. If you want the red border, you select this one. I'll keep it to the default, the light red fill and dark red text. After applying my conditional formatting, which shows the top 3 values in the range of sales revenue, I'll be typing a label in cell C1, so I'll select cell C1 and I'll type percentage of total and I'll hit enter. How to calculate the percentage of total? In order to calculate that percentage, I should first go and calculate the total. So let's go and calculate the total. And I'll bold this label. And let's create a sum function that calculates the total by using the AutoSum function and then hit enter. Now I do have a total, and let's calculate the relationship between each one of these numbers and the total available in cell B9. So I'll type an equal sign in cell C2. I'll type an equal sign, and what's the relationship between this number in cell B2 divided by the total? And because I intend to copy this formula down, I have to lock B9 so that it doesn't change as I copy the formula down. And to lock it, I hit the F4 key and hit Control Enter. Now I have a fraction of a total. It's better to express this fraction as percentage, so I'm going to click on percentage and click on the number of decimals to keep one single decimal place, then copy it down. So if I select the number in cell B4 and change it to $15,000 and then hit enter, look at the conditional formatting updating automatically. We have a percentage of the total sales, and I don't want to read numbers. I prefer to look at a chart and evaluate these numbers. So I'll be creating a bar chart inside the cell in column C. This is another type of conditional formatting. That's why I expanded column C. I'll select all the values and I'll be applying a data bar conditional formatting. We said we have 5 different predefined types of conditional formatting. Data bars is one of them. When you hover over it, you see 2 different categories: gradient fill of different colors and a solid fill. You can select whichever you want. I have a preference to the solid fill. So when I select it, looking at this number, look at the numbers, they reflect immediately percentage available in the cell. So I could tell that this second employee, Philip, has a highest sales amount, and the other employee, Kendrick, has a lower sales amount. Changing the values in column B will be reflected automatically on my calculation and on the data bar. So if I select the number in cell B2 and change it, let's say, to 6,000. Now if I hit enter, look at that. Now it has the lowest sales amount. The bar chart or the data bar conditional formatting reflects that change on the fly. I want to go to the next sheet, and in the next sheet, regional results. In the regional results worksheet, I have a first name, a last name, a region, a quantity, item price, and let's apply a little calculation in column F. So in F2, I'll be creating a calculation that multiplies the quantity by the item price to get the sales revenue. So I'll start by typing an equal sign, click on the quantity and multiply it by the item price and then hit enter. I can drag this formula down to calculate the total or the sales revenue generated by each one of these services. And since these are monetary values, it would be great if we format them as a currency formatting. So I'm selecting the range, right click, and select the Format Cell dialog box. Here is the currency category. If you don't want to see decimal places, reduce them and then hit OK. So I have a currency formatting. Another option is to create a total. I could do that total right now, but I prefer to create that total in a table. So I'm going to delete this total, and instead of creating by calculations manually, I'll show you how to create this calculation in a total. But let's first convert this range into a table. And to format it as a table or convert it as a table, one extra tab will pop up into the ribbon, the Design tab. So on the Home tab, if I click on the down arrow of Format as Table, and then select any one of the thumbnails, I'll be selecting the table style medium 1. When I select this one, Excel highlights the range and asks me, do you have some table header? Yes, I do have table header. I do have column headers. When I hit OK, now my table is formatted. The Design Contextual tab pops up into the ribbon. Would you like to see some totals? Let's go and check the box for total row. And the total row has been added, and it adds the sum of sales. If you would like to add the sum of quantity as well, the total row is fully functional. So if you click in total row, you will see a down pointing arrow, and then select count, average, whatever function you want, and I'll be selecting the sum, and I get the sum of quantity as well. One more thing, in a table, you get this down pointing arrow that enables you to sort or format. So what if I would like to see only the north and south region? I'll be applying a filter to the region column. I'll click on the down arrow for the region column, take the check away from select all, and now I'll be selecting north and south, and then I'll hit OK. So it keeps only records for the north and south. I have different sales revenue. What if I want to see the sales revenue above a specific cutoff I specify? So if I click under sales revenue, I could check and uncheck whatever I want, but better select the number filters. And here I'll be selecting greater than or equal to. In the custom autofilter dialog box, I'll type the amount 102,300, and then I hit OK. So if the amount is above 102,300, it will remain on display, otherwise it disappears. Now we formatted this column. What if you want to hide some of the columns as well? So if I select column D and E, I could hide them by right-clicking and selecting hide. You don't see them in the display. Assuming that this is the final appearance of this worksheet, the regional result, I would like to prepare it for printing. And to prepare for printing, I'll go to the File tab and click on Print. Excel will display a preview on how my worksheet will look like when printed. I have a preference to seeing this list in the middle of the sheet. So this is done by going down to the Page Setup. I'll click on Page Setup in the same window, and this will open the Page Setup dialog box, which has 4 tabs. On the Margins tab, I'll check the box for horizontally and vertically, and then hit OK. Now I can see it centered across the worksheet. If I want, I can click on Print and print the worksheet. Thank you for watching, and see you in our next tutorial.